We open with one of those creepy Skuckazoid guys shooting holes and stuff with some powerful new weapon. Blastoff attempts to chase him out of the very valuable Decepticon litter void, his words, and they end up landing on another one of those weird, vaguely planetoidy objects that seem to litter the deep space of Transformers Season 3. The Skuckazoid, in true proto-Ferengi fashion, attempts to sell the thing to Blastoff, but he just takes it. He also takes the space treasure map that tells you where the heavy-duty ammunition comes from. Have I mentioned recently how much I love this show? Meanwhile, on Cybertron, Kup is telling one of his old stories. Actually, this story resembles one he was telling in the movie, about something called an Ikiak. And, well, it kinda contradicts that one. Now, I don't want to call Kup a liar, but... Okay, yes I do. I really want to call him a liar. Kup, you're a liar. Anyway, the story comes down to something called a Chaos Monster on something called Planet Dread. Then the Junkions call with a distress call from... Oh, it was goo. So I was wrong to imply that this was an entirely different planetoidy object. But then why wasn't it gooey like before? Never mind, we have adventuring to do. And so all the most annoying Autobots in Season 3 head off. That's Big Dumb Child Grimlock, Blur, Wheelie, Kup, and Skylynx. Oh boy.
There, I've turned off the goo so we can walk, because if I didn't turn off the goo, it all gets sticky. If we all got sticky, we couldn't investigate.
Geez, I was wrong again. Maybe I should stop writing these as I go and give the show a chance to defend itself first. Nah. I also want to mention that, while we are indeed dealing with every single Autobot with an irritating speech impediment all together on the same mission, somehow they don't manage to irritate me terribly. I'm still engaged in the story. Hell, Wheelie's rhymes aren't even as contrived as they often are.
Your Neo machine is really keen, but you must explain just what you mean.
Turns out the debris on Goo was shot full of holes by something called death crystals, which creep Kup the fuck out for some reason. And you know, given that they're called death crystals, that's fair. Then Blastoff swoops in with... Well, I know this guy is either Runamuck or Runabout, but the show didn't tell me that. I just happen to have the toys. Runamuck and Runabout are a pair of Decepticon cars that spent an entire issue of the Marvel Comics spray-painting graffiti on the Statue of Liberty. I wish I were kidding. Here, at least, Runa-something gets to fire some death crystals at some Autobots. Skylynx whisks the guys away, bragging about how awesome he is the whole way, which is irritating, but no more so than, say, Power Glide, and Skylynx is at least capable of space flight. So much more cool stuff happens out in space than anywhere a gliding airplane can go. So a chase happens and they escape. Kup is still silent on the topic of death crystals, what they are, where they come from, and so on. And now we realize why all the most annoying Autobots are on this mission, so they can each take turns harassing him until he finally spills it. Apparently...
Death crystals are the hardest, most destructive things in the universe. They grow on that horrible monster Chaos.
Who Chaos?
He lives in Quig Mountain, on the planet Dread, deep in the caves. No robot has ever seen him and survived.
Come on, how can you not love an episode that takes us to Quig Mountain on the planet Dread, where a monster called Chaos lives? This is infinitely better than pretty much anything in Season 2. Except maybe Hypno Nightclub, I guess. So Kup's flashback tells us how he used to be a slave on this planet, and how he left a bunch of his slave buddies to die when Chaos showed up one day. Awesome! Shockingly, now that Galvatron knows where these badass crystals come from, he set up camp on Planet Dread to mine the fuck out of them. And look, there are still slaves here for him to exploit. Convenient! Who was their master before? Was this always a Decepticon operation, or did he have to fight somebody to take over? No time! Galvatron is building a huge death crystal cannon that he plans to aim directly at Cybertron. Now, this isn't the greatest plan he's ever cooked up. Wait, yes it is. Simple, effective, achievable. This is the greatest plan he's ever cooked up. Go Galvatron! He also doesn't take any shit from his new slaves, and when a revolt begins taking shape, he turns the biggest gun he has, Predaking, on their rebellious asses. That'll show him who's boss. It's Galvatron. Galvatron is boss. In at least 2 senses of that word. So the Autobots arrive on Planet Dread, which I never get sick of saying. And look, even though that slave thing happened like 8 seconds ago, here are the Predacons, now separated and waiting for them. Presumably some time has passed, I suppose, but nothing has really happened to indicate this. But that's just how things work on Planet Dread. We don't have time for transitions. Then Blur falls into quicksand, except we're on a strange planet, so it's all crazy sci-fi. It's quick, mud, exotic. Some fighting happens, and as much as I've been quite clear about my dislike for the Dinobots, I do enjoy it when Grimlock just tries to eat an enemy, so this part is pretty cool. Sadly, they rescue Blur, and then they decide that the best way to stop Galvatron's cannon is to destroy the Chaos Monster, which doesn't exactly make sense, but I'm going to allow it. Naturally, everything that's bad gets destroyed, because that's always the way it has to happen. But you know, Kup had some pretty dark crap he had to deal with to get here. I think the writers are finally learning how to make these standards and practices enforced limitations work for them and deliver some compelling, semi-sophisticated drama here. And in an episode starring Wheelie, Skylynx, Blur, and Grimlock even. Also, I'm 100% certain that Cup murdered the Chaos Monster. Man, Season 3 is the best, you guys.
Pop top can not popping. Ziploc bag not locking.